Day 188 of the Ukrainian war map, also known as the Russo-Ukrainian War. Jozzy here, and today is another quick update as I take a bit of a simplified and down-to-earth approach to the happenings on the ground in Ukraine. And as always, I like to start off with the military Russian personnel and hardware losses there. So I'll get that one to load up there for us in just a hot second. But I will say again, these are just estimates, okay? So as we take a look at the exhaustion of the Russian forces, both the infantry and the hardware losses there. So starting off the 30th of August here, so lost in action effectively on the Russian side, 47,550. And let's have a look at the hardware losses. So an additional 25 armored combat vehicles, and I'll explain why that is soon, and you'll understand why. 7 tanks and 19 artillery. I'll just quickly mention that, and I theorized this about a month ago or so, if you have a look back at my videos, I said that when this figure reached 100%, so the intended invasion for the war, about 200,000, 190, something will change. I wasn't sure what was going to change, but what Putin had to do was have some sort of Russian presidential decree to say they needed to expand their forces, but they only bolstered them to a factor of a few percentage gains, a few small percentage gains. So they've done something at the 100% mark, which I really thought might happen, but it's not going to help them out too much, it seems. But maybe more on that on another video. Now we'll jump back across to the map here, and definitely we'll start off with Kherson. So the Kherson Oblast, where amid continued Russian shelling throughout the country, Ukraine launched a long-awaited counteroffensive to liberate Russian-occupied Kherson in the last 24 hours or so. So we've got confirmation from both sides, that is to say the Ukrainian sides and the Russian sides, that the Ukrainian forces ripped through the front lines of the Russian defense, particularly on the Russian-held north bank of the Dnipro River, around there. As part of the long-anticipated Ukrainian counteroffensive, where Russia has previously held these lines solidly for a good few months. We are talking since about May time. So Ukraine liberated multiple villages on the Kherson front line, contact points of the war. And it launched its offensive in several directions, up the top north, northeast, and a little bit on the south there as well, just a tiny bit. We've even got some Russian social media footage of a Russian soldier, where this Russian soldier is ducking for cover, saying that the Ukrainian forces smashed through their front lines via air and land attacks, and even with the assistance of tanks, Ukrainian tanks rolling in there as well. However, the long-standing problem with Russia has been with being stationed on the north side of the Dnipro River. The thing with that is Ukraine has kept using HIMARS, the HIMARS high-precision rocket systems, to take out Russian supply lines and depots south of the Dnipro River. So the Novokakhovka Dam Bridge, the Antonivka Bridge there as well. And compound that with the fact that the Russian commanders fled from the front line weeks ago, which is also problematic because the Russian commander's presence on the front line is actually something of a cornerstone for Russian army forces to work effectively at the moment. It's just how they work, and they don't have their commanders to really assist them or control them or point them in the direction of what they need to do. I'm guessing that Ukraine just saw these commanders leave and thought, yeah, okay, this is the best time, if ever, to start this counteroffensive that they'd been talking about for a month or so now. So also at the same time, Ukraine wasted no time taking out ammunition depots in Novokakhovka and Berdyansk. So that is right here. So on both sides of the dam, So this is really a supply contact point. So they get as many supplies across from one side of the destroyed bridge to the other as quickly as they can. And what they do is, if we HIMARS actually takes out quite a few areas here. So we've got the base there, parts of the bridge that don't affect the dam, because they don't want the dam to spill over and kill all this life and natural habitats and flood the city to some degree. But yeah, Ukraine, as a part of this offensive, took out both of these spots here, Berislav and Novokakhovka. And Novokakhovka is no stranger to being taken out by HIMARS again and again and again. So this was truly an air and ground counteroffensive, all coordinated from the Ukrainians. So that was really keen to see. Also note, Ukraine's offensive largely started on the north bank of the Dnipro river there, because it's less populated here and there's more open terrain. We've got the city of Kherson actually down here that's more densely populated with civilians. And also, probably good to mention here now, there is also a natural obstacle on the north side of the bank here. So you can see this river right there. So once Ukraine actually takes out the northern bank and takes it back over, they would then look to position themselves to squash out the remainder of the cut-off Russian forces on the south side of this northern bank there. And who knows, the remaining Russian forces could raise the white flag. It's happened before in this war, and it could certainly happen again, at least in certain battlegrounds or battlefields. Though the full extent of the Ukrainian advances in the region are not yet known and cannot be confirmed, because it is actually happening really as we speak. But we'll see what happens in the next day or so. The date map doesn't really show you many advances. It's just too soon. We can see a little advance there, but it's just too soon otherwise. Yeah. Okay, now we'll move across elsewhere onto the map. And we have, again, outside of Ukraine, so in the Belgorod Oblast. Now, 2 explosions were reported in Buglerod overnight. Maybe from someone smoking a cigarette again, or not watching where they were putting it, or maybe a Ukrainian coordinated counter-offensive attack at the same time as the Kherson side of things. Either way, I can't wait to find out what the reason for that one is there. And then we move across and switch gears to the Donbass, the always contested Donbass area, where Russia is still looking to take out this big white section, the remainder of the Donetsk Oblast there, or the Donetsk province, call it what you will. And attacks were repelled really all along the main frontline locations. So we are talking Bakhmut right there, Soledar right here, and Slovyansk as well. No new ground was broken by the Russian forces there. Then we move across to Zaparizia, or the Zaparizia Oblast, where Berdyansk, there we go, got a bit of an airfield there. So explosions were reported in Berdyansk overnight there. This is not the best footage here, but what can you do really? And as for the nuclear power plant in Zaparizia, so that's up quite a fair distance away in a Hodar, there where I'm pointing my mouse. Russia refuses to demilitarize the area around the nuclear power plant, which was to be expected really. But having said that, Russia's buddy and military drill partner China also came out saying, hey, be careful, Russia. We don't want another nuclear catastrophe on our hands like last time, of course referring to Chernobyl. And that was the late 80s, that one. Now we move across to a little bit of news. So Zelensky said regarding the counteroffensive in Kherson, the following that, and I quote, "I won't give any specifics, but we will drive the invaders to the border." So those are really fighting words there. Zelensky urged Russians to go home or surrender. Otherwise, and I quote, "They will deal with our defenders who will not stop until they liberate everything that belongs to Ukraine." Again, more fighting words to say the least. And in other news, Ukraine has advised that 29 days since Ukraine's ports were reopened, at least 56 ships have delivered grain, to 18 countries, which is really fantastic news given global food security needs, particularly for Africa. In some more news, Norway is to provide $200 million for Ukraine to buy gas, saying that, and I quote, "It is now a matter of urgency to help Ukraine increase its store of natural gas before winter arrives. The gas will help to alleviate the country's grave humanitarian situation." And what they're talking about is, well, firstly, liquefied natural gas, which is used for heating, especially in the winter, among many other applications there. And just lastly, maybe a little bit of a funny, at least in my opinion. I find this a little bit funny to round off the video with. So the Russian Minister of Defense, Sergei Shoigu, has been sidelined in the war due to his ineffectual and out-of-touch leadership as Russia progress has stalled in Ukraine. I've seen this guy for the last 10 or 12 years. I think it was about 2010 or 2012 where he started to become the Russian Minister of Defense, standing right next to Putin in so many video footage or photography or photos, things like that. And if I am to be honest, he's always looked a little bit hunched over and a bit of a yes man, quote unquote yes man to Putin. Now, here's the problem with his removal from the war. He's just going to be replaced by yet another yes man. That's how autocracies work. Power is consolidated by one person at the top, namely in this case Putin, where ministers are afraid to disagree with or speak truth to power to an increasingly isolated Putin. And Shoigu's sideline has happened just a mere 2 days after Shoigu said everything was going, quote unquote, according to plan. And when I reported on that just a couple of days ago, I literally said famous last words, and now here we are. So I just find that a bit funny. Now, as a general note, this is where Russia always really gets my goat, so to speak. Their actions are in such opposition to their words. It makes them so untrustworthy on the world stage. It's probably why the world just won't do businesses with them anymore. They are the most heavily economically sanctioned country on earth now, even more so than Iran and North Korea. So it's kind of funny in a way. I just find a little bit of that funny, the way that they talk, their rhetoric, just a bit weird. So thanks again for watching, guys. Please leave a comment, subscribe, hit that like button, show your support for Ukraine, and I do hope to see all of you guys there in the next one. Cheers.